A Plaguelands Media production.
Hey everyone, this is Hugh from Plaguelands Media bringing you another book review today, so cheers. Today I am bringing you a review of The Doom Brigade. This is book one in the Chaos War series of Dragonlance novels. Now, those of you who are new to the channel probably don't know that I am a huge fan of Dragonlance. I have been ever since I was in elementary school. But for those of you that don't know what Dragonlance is, Dragonlance was a series of books back in the day when TSR, now Wizards of the Coast, would give authors a chance to kind of write novels based on their IP. Dragonlance was one of those. Dragonlance actually started out as a series of classic adventures for Dungeons & Dragons. That is Volume 1, Volume 2, and of course, Volume 3. These were kind of scenarios, I guess you would say, that you could kind of play through this War of the Lance. Now, these were translated into a novel series, of course, the Chronicles, Dragons of Autumn Twilight, Dragons of Winter Night, and Dragons of Spring Dawning. One of my all-time favorite book series. You can see on the back, these are the covers of the original novels. I didn't have them as a collector's edition. I had them as kind of separate novels, but they are absolutely fantastic. Now, after the Dragonlance Chronicles, we move into the Legends series. This is Time of the Twins, War of the Twins, Test of the Twins, focusing on Raistlin Maegir and Caramon Maegir from the Chronicles series. And again, on the back, you can see the original covers of the books. So after the Chronicles and Legends, both written by Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman, we kind of move into the second generation. This is the children of the characters from those first 6 books and how they are now kind of affecting the world of Krynn after the War of the Lance. Again, a very good book. Couple of short stories and things like that in here, but it is a lot of fun. Now, 25 years after the War of the Lance, we move into what is known as the Chaos War. This is chronicled in Dragons of Summer Flame. And the Chaos War, following the War of the Lance, is basically where the Chaos War series is set. It is set 25 years after the War of the Lance, during the time of Dragons of Summer Flame, but there are 6 books in this series, and each one of them kind of deals with a different aspect of that. We have books like The Last Thane, Tears of the Night Sky, all dealing with characters who in some way, shape or form are part of the Chaos War series, which leads from the 4th age of Dragonlance into the 5th age. We have the Puppet King, we have Reavers of the Blood Sea, and we have the Siege of Nevermind. These are all standalone books. You don't need to know anything about Dragonlance to enjoy them, but the more you know about Dragonlance, the more fun these books are going to be. So this is going to be a review of the first book in the Chaos War series, The Doom Brigade. Now, I did have this book back in the day. Back when I was at university, I had a copy of this, but I didn't actually read it back then. And the reason being, I thought the premise sounded stupid. The premise, of course, being draconians and dwarves kind of living in this valley together, and it just sounded dumb to me. It wasn't until last year when I read the Dragons of Krynn short story compilation, which you can actually see on my channel, or on the Plaguelands Media channel, I should say. It's not my channel, it's Plaguelands Media channel. Fucking hell, I'm not that arrogant. Where the characters in the Doom Brigade, namely Kang the Bozak Draconian and his kind of squad of engineers, you kind of get an idea of who they are, and they're the main characters in this book. They are draconians living in a valley, kind of coexisting with these hill dwarves, and lamenting the fact that it's basically a back and forth between them and the hill dwarves. They raid the hill dwarves raid them, and it's just their lives are going nowhere until they discover that there might be dragon eggs with female draconians. Okay, what the fuck is a draconian? What am I fucking talking about? For you fucking laymen out there. During the War of the Lance, the Dark Queen Tarkhesis created this ritual to corrupt the eggs of good dragons. Good dragons being bronze, copper, silver, brass, and gold. And from these corrupted dragon eggs, they got the draconians. Baz, Bozak, Capac, Sivak, and Aurak. So they kind of decided, the forces of evil kind of decided that we won't make any female draconians because after this war is over and we've won, we're not going to need them anymore. We don't want them to procreate. They can all just fuck off and die. In the book, The Doom Brigade, they discover that there are eggs with female draconians in them, and it becomes a quest to kind of go and liberate those dragon eggs from where they have been hidden. That is the premise of the book. If you don't want to watch the spoiler-filled review, just know that this book was a fuck ton of fun. This is how fantasy should be written. It should be fun to read. It shouldn't be a fucking chore. You shouldn't be reading it going, Jesus, don't give me moralistic shit. Just give me dragon men and dwarves fighting it out, then working together, and then having fun and whatever. That's what this book was. I absolutely loved every single fucking minute of reading this. And like, sometimes it takes me a long time to read a book. This took me 2 days. I literally read this thing in 2 days because I couldn't put the fucking thing down. Wake up in the morning. Wake up about 6:30. I am sitting in the office at home. This is kind of my office space. I'm reading this for an hour. On the train to work, I'm reading it. Between classes, I'm reading it. Train home, I'm reading it. At night, after dinner, before my wife and I decide to watch whatever it is we're watching, I'm reading it. Like, this book was amazing, and I fucking loved it, and I cannot wait to get into the other Chaos War novels. Margaret Weis and Don Perrin, absolutely phenomenal, phenomenal pairing. I do have to talk, however, about the cover by Keith Parkinson. Have a look at that. You've got a draconian with an axe going up against a fire dragon in a fucking lava pit. Yes, this doesn't happen till the end of the book, but holy crap, does that sum up everything that this fucking book is. I absolutely love this cover. I think it is amazing. It is, well, it's a work of fucking art, but just have a look at that. It's phenomenal. So, if you don't want to find out what happens in the story, you want to go and track this down and read it yourself, by all means do so. You will absolutely love it. But if you just want it spoiled, hey, let's go into the next episode of
Read a fucking book. Read a fucking book. Read a fucking book. People.
I'm just going to pretend this is Dwarven Spirits because that's what the Draconians like in the book. So we start out with Kang. He is the commander of this Draconian village that has been kind of secreted away in this valley for the past 25 years, ever since the War of the Lance ended. Kang is a Bozak Draconian, which means he can actually use magic, and he kind of commands this regiment of engineers. They were, in fact, bridge builders back in the day, under the command of Lord Ariakas, who was the self-proclaimed emperor who met his demise at the end of Dragons of Spring Dawning. Now, in this valley, there is also a village of hill dwarves. The hill dwarves often raid the Draconians and steal livestock and weapons and things like that. And then ultimately the Draconians go and raid the hill dwarves. Now, they have this a bit of an understanding here where they just don't use weapons because the Draconians know that the hill dwarves kind of brew their own beer and spirits and whatnot. And if they inadvertently kill the brewmaster, then they're going to be shit out of luck. So they decide to raid without weapons, and the hill dwarves do the same thing. And it's kind of a back and forth. It's this almost a friendly rivalry, which I thought was just fucking hilarious. In the hill dwarves village, there is a dwarf called Selquist. Now, Selquist is half hill dwarf, half dark dwarf. And as such, he's not really trusted. He's a bit of a thief, bit of a scammer. He's got his little crew of dwarves that managed to sneak into the dwarven city of Thebarden, get all the way through to the dark dwarf city, and managed to snag this book after a short heist. And this book contains the directions to a hidden treasure. This treasure involves the female draconian eggs that I mentioned in the introduction. Also, all of the lost treasure of Naraka. Now, those of you that are not familiar with Dragonlance, Naraka was the city where the Queen of Darkness kind of had her forces amass at the end of Dragons of Spring Dawning. And when everything went to shit, they took the treasure and they fled. So this kind of treasure cache has a ton of gold, jewels, steel, everything you could fucking imagine, magic items, all that kind of stuff. Now, during one of the raids, Kang kind of gets wind of this hidden treasure with the female draconian eggs, gets his kind of group together, and they're like, we're going to go to Thebarden and we're going to liberate these eggs and everything's going to be cool. Selquist gets his shit together. We're going to go to Thebarden, we're going to get the treasure, and everything's going to be cool. So you got the Draconians on one side, you got the dwarves on the other side, and they're kind of coming together to find the treasures that they want. In the interim, the dwarves burn down the Draconian village, and it kind of pisses everyone off. They get to Thebarden, and Kang has a vision from Tarkesis, the Queen of Darkness, basically saying there is something dangerous here. You have to take it out. Now, this is during the Chaos War period, which was, of course, in Dragons of Summer Flame. So, Kang discovers that there is a room in Thebarden very close to this treasure chamber, and it ultimately has a pit of lava that is just spewing forth fire dragons that are ruled by chaos. And so he decides we have to put an end to this. The Queen of Darkness has said it. He is still loyal to her, always has been, and kind of it's almost like his calling here. Now, during this time, Kang has actually been approached by the son of the previous emperor, Lord Ariakus. The son's name is Ariakin. Ariakin has this army that he's now using to conquer Ansalon. Now, the army involves the Knights of Tarkesis. These are a bastardized version of the Knights of Solamnia. The Knights of Solamnia being good, Knights of Tarkesis being bad, so to speak. And Kang is initially impressed by this, but ultimately discovers that Ariakus' son, Ariakin, just wants them for basically glorified poop hole diggers, digging latrines and shit. So he goes, oh, fuck that shit. We're out of here. So he's kind of disillusioned, but then this vision from the Queen of Darkness, the fire dragons, he goes in there and they kick some major fucking ass. The dwarves, led by Selquist, with a small army behind them, are trying to get to the treasure. The Draconians are trying to get to the dragon eggs. And it ultimately kind of comes down to this huge fucking showdown where they take out the fire dragon pit. The dwarves find the treasure. The Draconians find the dragon eggs. The dwarves and the Draconians kind of make a peace when the Draconians tell the dwarves, listen, we'll leave the valley. We don't fucking need the valley. Now we've got these female Draconians. Our race can kind of continue. So you're all good there. And they kind of make up and become friends at the end. Okay. That is basically the gist of this. But in the interim, in the ins and outs of this book is just so much fun. The interactions between the Draconians, the interactions between the dwarves. It made me laugh. Like I was laughing out loud at a lot of the shit in this fucking book. I cannot recommend the Chaos War series enough, even though I haven't read the other 5 books in the series, all written by kind of different authors. Doesn't matter. They're going to be great. And the reason they're going to be great is because they are... It was basically written at a time when TSR, when Wizards of the Coast were branching out. And they gave different authors, hey, here's our IP, do what you fucking want with it. And they did. And it worked. It was just fun. There's a lot of references in the Doom Brigade to the Chaos War. So, like, I recommend reading Dragons of Summer Flame. I recommend reading all the Dragonlance books. They are just fucking phenomenal, fantastic. But I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I cannot stress that enough. So that's the Doom Brigade, the Chaos War series, book 1. You don't need any backstory to enjoy it, but the more backstory you have, the more you're going to love it. So there you go. Have some Dwarven Ale. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the notification bell. So any videos that Plaguelands Media comes out with, you will get straight away. But most importantly, stay safe. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And of course, as always, please read a fucking book, people.